A very warm welcome to you. It's a pleasure to have you join us again on Almond Finance and Wealth Reports this week. As you know, your source for latest happening information in the financial sector of the nation's economy. My name is Faith Wade. Compliments of the seasons to you. On this edition of the program, we'll kick off by bringing you the first part of our exclusive interview with Mr. Henry Olujimi Boyo, a renowned economist and analyst. Together, we'll be looking at the current state of the Nigerian economy. Speaking during the course of the interview, Mr. Boyo stated that until we address fundamentally the issues of our monetary policies, Nigeria as an economy will continue to go round in circles.
In Nigeria many years ago, budgets are supposed to be read on the first day. The approved budget is supposed to be read on the first day of January of every year.
On this edition also, we bring you highlights of the Financial Literacy Public Enlightenment Program put together by the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC, in collaboration with Bank Customers Association of Nigeria, BCAN, at the Dover Hotel, Ikeja here in Lagos. The theme was Understanding the Revised Guide to Bank Charges.
When they discovered they transferred it twice, they now debited my account. When I now checked my statement, and also COT, I went to the manual there, what did you do with my account, sir?
Plus, our short and sharp segment. I urge you as always to sit back, relax and spend this time with us, but all the details are coming to you after this break. Please stay with us.
Nobody appreciates insurance anywhere in the world. And that's a reality.
As a matter of responsibility to ourselves, we've got to remain relevant to their businesses.
It will be far more expensive for me as a business to go offshore to recruit manpower than to recruit the same manpower in Nigeria.
Insurance is essentially an international business, so we cannot just close up and keep everything here.
They are producing bankers not only for today but for tomorrow. They are producing bankers who are fit not only to work in Nigeria, but who can work anywhere in the world.
All right, welcome back. On the site of Almond today, I have the honor and privilege to be hosting a friend of the house, Mr. Henry Olujimi Boyo, who is a renowned economist and also an analyst. Together, we'll be looking at the current state of the Nigerian economy. Thank you so very much, sir, for joining
pleasure,
me
Faith.
On the program. Okay, sir, I'm going to start. For so many people, this year happens to be one of the worst years in the history of their life. First, the year started, we started off with the long period of elections, after elections, naming cabinets and all of that. And has things been this bad for the Nigerian economy, in your opinion?
That's a difficult question. To answer that, you probably have to go back many years to possibly the Babangida days when the Naira crashed so terribly from I think less than 4 or 5 to 1 to eventually 22 to 1 to 60 to 1 or something. Those were very trying times for everybody in Nigeria. But equally trying, I must admit, is the year 2015. I wouldn't say 2015 was tough, or 2015 has been tough as a result of the budget, even though that would play a very significant part, especially since it was not passed, I think, until about March or something like that. And then, so obviously nothing serious could have been done. The budget was probably was not used as a reference for the action plans of President Jonathan's administration. And when President Buhari took over, I don't think he wanted to be seen as pursuing the same policies as President Jonathan. But that nonetheless, the total value of the 2015 budget was probably the worst in recent times. The total was about 4.5 trillion naira, which was very, very small indeed. And out of that, I think less than 10 or 15% or so was allocated for capital expenditure. And that, again, is a shame because capital expenditure is the aspect that improves the lives of the common man in terms of infrastructural enhancement, in terms of social services and this type of thing. So if capital expenditure is so paltry compared to recurrent expenditure, which was as high as almost 85%. And incidentally, these odd ratios for capital expenditure and recurrent expenditure were existed at the time of an eminent economist in our lives. And unfortunately, in a whole 4 years, it became impossible for there to be a proper alignment between recurrent expenditure and capital expenditure. As, for example, happened in Lagos State, which already boasted under Fashola 60% capital expenditure and 40% recurrent. But having said so, the much more significant impact in driving poverty in the country, probably more so than in other years, in the areas of monetary policy. For example, the cost of funds has remained clearly in the 20s, between 23, 27, or 28 even. And Faith, you must admit that no country's real sector can actually survive when they have to borrow at 23 or 24 or 25%, as the case may be. And this high lending rate has been subsisting for a fairly long time. So any hope that we could revive or reinvent our economy in a private sector driven arrangement would be should be unexpected, because things don't happen that way. Investors don't start to borrow at 25% to say they want to build a factory and things like that. That is a sure part of suicide. Again, on the side of inflation, you understand, of course, that inflation is a silent plague which kills very, very slowly and very potently. For example, a good example to show the capacity or the strength of inflation in damaging our lifestyles and our social values and things like that is in the area of pensions. You have a situation where a pensioner who has possibly a static income in an environment where inflation is running at about 8, 9, 10%. It means that every 5 years, that pensioner's income would be cut in half. Okay, but it's not even the pensioner alone. Most workers don't have annual increases. For example, the minimum wage has remained minimum or static for about...
Even some are saying the minimum they can't pay.
They can't pay, precisely, So the minimum wage has remained 18,000 naira nominally. But in terms of what the 18,000 naira could buy, 5 or 6 years ago when it was 18,000 naira, you know that it possibly is buying about half because of the rate of inflation. And that is probably also compounded by the fact that you're only looking at the nominal rate of inflation. You're not even looking at the loss in value as a result of devaluation. When you compound all those, you find that the poor man who was supposed to be poor earning 18,000 naira 5, 6 years ago is certainly a poorer man. No doubt about that. Investors on the stock market also certainly cannot have much to, I don't want to say praise God for, but to sing hallelujah about. Because if you follow the trend in the stock market in the recent past, you will find that apart from the fact that the stock market indices have, there's been a southward drive in the value of equities and all that. By the time you also consider, for example, I think the stock market value is about 9.6 trillion or so now. But that is the nominal value. In real terms, that 9.6 trillion is now possibly less than $60 billion, when it was possibly much more than that, because there's $5 billion in each trillion. So by the time you look at it over 10 times or so, you're talking about $60 billion. You will find that the value of the stock market has fallen tremendously. And when you look at it from a foreign exchange perspective, you will find that it has even fallen much more. So all along the line, from just being the private individual, the manufacturer who's also complaining that there's not enough dollars for them to buy things, up to the individual who finds that his income appears to be still the same 18,000, but he goes to the market and some magic happens and you cannot buy what he used to buy. All of us were all involved, and so I suppose you may be right if people say that we have had a very tough time, especially when the fact that it was a political year made it certain that there wouldn't be a lot of economic activity anyhow because of the transition, even though a lot of people will tell you that they didn't expect that the transition would take so long for the new government to get its act together. But let's see, there's still about 3.5 years or more to go, so let's hope it will
now,
change.
Mr. Boyo, would you say that the current dilemma we are in as a nation economically is as a result of 2015 being a political year or being an electionary year?
Not necessarily. I think it's an excuse for our failure, because the reason is very simple. It could only be an excuse because it wasn't as if things were much different in past years. For example, budgets were never passed on time. In the past 10 years or so, it has always been passed in March, April, or something like that. And at the end of the day, because of the late passage of budget...
Ideally, Mr. Boyo, sorry to come in.
Yeah.
When should a budget be passed? Is it possible to pass a budget at the beginning of the year?
I tell you the truth, this used to happen in Nigeria many years ago. Budgets are supposed to be read on the first day. The approved budget is supposed to be read on the first day of January of every year, because that's the only way you can, So in other words, that requires that the planning, the consultations, and everything, it should be a continuous thing. So it's by June, July, the initial bill will go to National Assembly, and they will gradually be working on it. Not this kind of stampede thing that, the thing goes to the National Assembly maybe a week or so before Christmas, and then they take their holiday and come back about middle of January or something like that, and before they settle down and everything to debate and everything, they find that, they're not really concerned. That's the national legislature. They're not too concerned because the provisions of the Constitution allows them to be collecting their salaries anyhow.
And allowances.
And allowances. So it's just the capital expenditure that is frozen.
What are the challenges for the Nigerian economy? I break them down into 3 topics, which I will discuss at some length. The first is capital. The Nigerian economy suffers from a tremendous lack of capital. We do things, what I would call in incremental fashion, because we do not have enough capital to do the big things. We're a very big country, and we must start thinking big things. We cannot, for example, think we can address our mortgage problem with 100 billion in funds.
All right, welcome back. Moving on, we'll bring you highlights of the Financial Literacy Public Enlightenment Program put together by the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC, in collaboration with Bank Customers Association of Nigeria, BCAN, recently at the Dover Hotel, Ikeja, here in Lagos. The theme was Understanding the Revised Guide to Bank Charges. The one-day seminar was an eye-opener for bank customers as well as officials of the NDIC. The NDIC's sponsorship of the program was a part of their role at providing education and protecting bank customers in Nigeria.
One of the shortcomings of the Nigerian economy is the disconnection between economic growth and the welfare of citizens. The goal of an inclusive economy is to prevent social exclusion. To prevent social exclusion, the federal government has intensified efforts to increase financial literacy, as statistics show that 39 million Nigerians are not financially included. Financial literacy is having the knowledge, skills, and confidence to make responsible financial decisions. Knowledge refers to an understanding of personal and broader financial matters. Skills refer to the ability to apply that financial knowledge in everyday life. Recently, the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC, in collaboration with Bank Customers Association of Nigeria, BCAN, put together a one-day financial literacy public enlightenment program at the Dover Hotel, Ikeja. The theme was Understanding the Revised Guide to Bank Charges. Welcoming participants to the program, the chairman of Bank Customers Association of Nigeria, Dr. Uju Ogubunka, said that if bank customers are aware of the revised guide to the charges and also monitor their accounts regularly, they will be able to protect themselves against excessive bank charges.
In the days of the banker's tariff, for those of us who are old enough to remember banker's tariff, we didn't used to have issues about excess bank charges. In my opinion, and I believe we also can testify to the fact that it is in the regime of what has been tagged Guide to Bank Charges that we started having these numerous complaints about excess charges imposed on bank customers by their bankers. This is considered by BCAN as an unhealthy situation, and as a consumer-based organization with the protection of interest of its members as the reason for its birth and indeed its existence, BCAN took time to study this development. And at the end of it, the association concluded that, one, most of our members are oblivious of the existence and indeed provisions of the revised guide to bank charges.
Personal financial literacy is more than just being able to balance a checkbook, compare prices, or get a job. It also includes skills like long-term vision and planning for the future, and the discipline to use those skills every day. Delivering the keynote address, Malam Mohammed Umar, Deputy Director, NDIC, stated that the financial system, especially banks, have changed, not only in the way they do business, but the instruments and platforms have also changed.
The financial system and indeed the banking industry are witnessing tremendous transition, not only in the way we do business, but also in the instruments and platforms through which we do business. Instruments have changed. Instruments include Tally, no more. Tally was an instrument. Tally number is no more. Instruments like checks, A lot of people don't use checks now. Issue of drafts. I've forgotten what last as well drafts are. Especially sometimes in schools, you say come with a draft. Drafts are no more. E-payment has come in. A lot of payments are going on without normal traditional instruments that we used to know. And because of that, technology has set in. And because of that, human beings have also changed. A lot of people are sitting down 247, they're thinking of how do I cheat out of this system. They say that Yahoo is no more Yahoo now. They don't go to cyber cafe. They set a cyber cafe in their house. 3 friends, 247, battling how to cheat somebody. And sometimes they succeed. They use your email. I'm going to be going somewhere, director send me an email that somebody building a 2-bedroom house for him that he needs 150,000, I should give the man and this account number. So I now call I said, okay, I cannot make it because he off it. Later on his own he called. I said, what is this? What did I say? I said, I am a bank examiner. You are trying to cheat somebody. Not only somebody, it's a director of bank examination. Since that day, he never called and we didn't pursue the matter because we cannot send a staff and a police from Lagos to Ekoma to carry a student because of 100,000. And even the 100,000 have to trace who owns it.
Delivering the sub-team paper entitled Common Areas Banks and Customers Have Disagreements on Charges, Mr. Adegunloye Joseph Tokumbo, Vice President Beacon, said that despite the revised guide to bank charges, some banks are in the habit of charging COT above the stipulated amount.
Where we have problem with the bank is the management fee. Management fee in 2004, the guy puts it as negotiable. Like the doctor said, many banks, they have abused it. I know a bank that will charge 1% per month. Every month. Take for example, if you obtain a loan or overdraft of 100 million, this bank will be charging 1% in the first month, 1% the second month, 1% of that of value. So look at it. That's in 1 year they have collected 12. There are some banks that will charge 5%, and now some people will say all they have charged, all they have collected. How do you take them back? Now, it is simple. All they have collected on management, it is simple. But do you want to tell you?
Other speakers were Mr. Alex Anameje, Mr. O.O. Babatolu, Deputy Director, Bank Examination, NDIC, and a host of others. Being a Customers Enlightenment Program, participants had questions.
Firstly, has to do with the issue of LIBOR. So by the time you are getting foreign facility from bank, they say it is based on LIBOR. But unfortunately, as consultants, we don't have access to that LIBOR for you to determine if the customer is overcharged or not. So how do we get access to the LIBOR? That is number one. Number two question has to do with, by the time customer is overcharged, I did say is that time value of money should count. Before now, we realize that CBN do allow them to charge interest, probably at the highest lending rate, to collect interest on that overcharge. But we realize that the recent monetary policy guideline released by CBN, it has somehow been compromised by CBN. If you look at section 3.24G, you realize that CBN deliberately deleted that thing. The provision that says that when customer is reclaiming back their money, that they should reclaim it along with interest element. And if the if the bank failed to refund these 2 weeks, it should pay along with 100% penalty. But the recent circular released by CBN, they maliciously deleted that section. Unfortunately, when they did the deletion, they forgot to do the renumbering. To show that it was maliciously done. They forgot to do the renumbering. So I don't know what we can do in that respect so as to protect the customer.
No doubt, the one-day financial literacy public enlightenment program was an eye-opener for bank customers as well as for officials of the NDIC. Access to finance is critical to the achievement of an all-inclusive economy. The financial system, especially the banking industry, is key to the success of this inclusive growth by playing their intermediation roles of deposit taking, lending, and resource allocation from surplus units to deficit units.
Alright, that's the time on this edition of the program. I do hope you thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I always say here, for comments, questions, observations, do feel free to get in touch with us on 017763981 or 08033357879, or better still, send us an email, almond4xx@yahoo.com or almondproduction@gmail.com. You can also visit us on our website, almondreports.com. Like us on our Facebook page, Almond Finance and Wealth Reports, and view past episodes of this program on our YouTube channel, Almond Reports TV. Join us every Wednesday by 9:45 a.m. live on Nigeria FM 102.7 for our Pidgin English program called Waiting Insurance They Do Safe. Don't forget also you can connect with us on WhatsApp via our number 08033357879. My name is Faith Uwade. Until same time, same station next week when we come your way with a fresh package of this program from all of us here. It's goodbye.